There you go. Veronica, would you like to chair?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute while I was talking.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's March 12th, 2025. We'll call this meeting to order. If someone will call the roll, Ms. Swopes, I believe.
Okay. Veronica Cordova,
Here.
Preston Elkins,
Here.
thank you. And Rustin Self is absent. Michael Trujillo is not on Zoom, is he? No. Okay. He's absent, and Chris Wood is present. Present. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swopes. Okay, item 3, approval of minutes from January 29th, 2024. They were in your packet for review.
Oh, it's 2025, sorry, I will make that correction.
Oh, did I say 24? Oh, yeah, 2025, sorry.
Agenda, sorry.
I wanted to point out just a couple of things if we could for the minutes.
Okay.
So GRT primarily generated by construction projects, it should be retail. I think construction was brought up in the meeting, but I feel like I corrected that.
Oh, okay.
And then property tax revenue discussed. Property taxes contribute about 7%.
Not 20%.
Not 20%.
Okay.
And that's what I have for the minutes.
Yeah, with those changes, I make a motion for approval.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Elkins and a second by Mr. Wood with the corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, item 4, discussion and action items. Item A is review of the bills, expense reports for January through February of 2025 for recommendation to the council. Ms. Rivera.
Yeah, so in your packet is the January and the February check report for accounts payable. I will stand for any questions on the reports.
You may not know the answer to this, but I did see on the Baker Utilities Supply Corp, there was water system inventory parts that totaled 135,000. Do we know what that would have been?
That's he had the, yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but their inventory was low. I'm guessing it's valves and different things. I would have to talk to Chris to see exactly what he bought in that.
Okay, so it's inventory.
It is
all we're saying.
inventory, yes.
Okay,
And I know he
cool.
was working on putting together like fire hydrant stuff that they needed. So it is definitely warehouse inventory.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That's all I had.
Okay.
Oh,
seeing-
no, one more. I'm sorry, Veronica. There was
That's
one
okay.
for repairing a unit for air leaks at Lat Automotive for 45,000. What would that have been that we were fixing?
Yes, that would have been one of our garbage trucks.
Yep.
That we had to
Holy
repair.
cow.
Yes.
Okay, now that's it.
Okay. Any others? Okay, hearing none, what is the pleasure of the Finance Committee?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Elkins and a second by Mr. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item B is presentation and action of FY 2025 for quarterly budget adjustments for council approval of resolution 2025-05.
Okay, so these will be our quarter three, part two, since I think, January part one for this quarter. You'll see again quite a bit as we dwindle down to our year end. We'll go over some of them, not necessarily all of them, but in all the governing body, you'll see a budget adjustment. In that budget adjustment column, 140,369. So that is an adjustment so that since we're no longer the fiscal agent for Roosevelt County Health Council, we had to transfer or turn over their funds that we were holding for them. That's what that's about. And then we have budget adjustments to our manager's budget, also to adjust the payroll and some benefits. So as you know, payroll and benefits were never adjusted when the initial budget was submitted. So you'll see a lot of the budget adjustments due to that. The municipal clerk is the budget that we were able to adjust through for a lot of this payroll. So the budget adjustments for payroll and benefits are adjusted within the general fund. You will also see budget adjustments to planning and zoning. They right now have the animal control tasks and duties, and the budget was never established for them. So that's why you'll see personnel budget in planning and zoning for a lot of the animal control expenses. Again, in dispatch, adjustments to their salaries and some benefits. Then budget adjustments to other capital projects fund. You'll see a budget adjustment for $59,000. That is for the concrete slab that will be going up for the animal control building. And then we have a budget adjustment to our water enterprise for $3.6 million. And those are 2 water trust board projects and then one $500,000 capital outlay. And then you'll see the legislative appropriation, $500,000 coming in as revenue. We also adjusted several of the line items in building and maintenance or maintenance and repairs in general to the water system. We took $2.8 million because the $4 million that was initially in that budget, those were for prior year's projects that hadn't been taken out of the budget, okay? We also adjusted professional services as well. We took out $1.1 million. And then subscription and dues, we adjusted $9,000, and that is because of the Ute project administration fees that we pay annually. The amount was, it needed to be a little bit more. And then same thing, we adjusted equipment and maintenance to 0. And that is initially it was AMR. And getting with Mr. Mendoza on that, we needed to 0 that out because a lot of that expense comes truly out of our water expense and water maintenance. And then here you'll see the $5.2 million, which is the water trust board 2 projects and the capital outlay expenses. Solid waste, as Mr. Elkins asked earlier about that trash truck is their vehicle maintenance and maintenance in general. You can see that the budget was initially $200,000. Well, we've already exceeded that, and this $100,000 is to adjust for that. Airport, we did some adjustments per the grants. So we're truly adjusting as we've received grants and to adjust what they should be. Initially, State Airport had a revenue budget or adjustment of $500,000. We adjusted it, and it's really only $50,000. Federal grant, the $249,000. It is for professional and services for, I believe, a design grant that they have. That's what that's for. And then that's the $252,000 is the expense. And we have a little bit of a match. That's why the difference of $249 and $252. We also removed the equipment and machinery expense that was budgeted, as that does not exist. And roadways and bridges, also, you'll see the 50,000 for the grant revenue, and then this one's the expense part of it. We are working on the amphitheater for some hail damage repairs. That's what the insurance proceeds revenue is, and then you'll see the expense of 10,000 to cover that. And then unemployment wages. We have paid already a little over 30,000 for a couple of the quarters. So that's what that is. That 13,000 is to adjust that. So that covered most of our budget adjustments. Do you have any questions?
On the 3.6 million for the State Water Trust Board grants, was that for Lime Street? Is that what that was, Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Okay.
There's two for Lime Street, that $500,000 in capital outlay for Lime Street. And then one of the water trust boards is also, and then the other one's a well field improvement. So you're correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
That's what my question was as well, so.
Okay, if we have no other questions, I have one. When we're doing these projects and we have these in our line items, do we have a report that shows like what we've done, like the completion of work, when what we've spent?
We haven't generated one in the past for our members or council that I'm aware of, Ms. Veronica, but that is something that we do generate for our department heads, because they are working to submit payment reimbursements. And so since it's phased out, or we don't necessarily wait to get reimbursed, until the project's done, that's why we can generate those reports. So if that's something that you'd like to see, I could definitely bring that to Finance Committee.
So,
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, what is the pleasure of the Finance Committee?
I move for approval of the budget adjustments.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Wood and a second by Mr. Elkins. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item C is discussion and recommendation of banking services FY 2025-2026 for the city of Portales to move forward to council for approval of resolution 2025-06.
So in February, we received a letter from US Bank that they are closing their branch here. So we are in essential critical needs of banking services, like immediately, because our utility ladies have to do daily deposits, a lot of cash handling that goes through here. Not just deposits, but change and stuff. So we need like immediate services, and having a qualified local branch is per statute. So I reached out to some banks that I know here locally that handle government funds and are very familiar with it. I included in your packet the proposal received from JP Stone and one from New Mexico Bank and Trust. So I did not release this as a formal RFP to the public because I was able to confirm with our auditors and also Michael Steininger from Department of Finance that we are within our procurement means and not exceeding the 60,000 in bank service charges or fees. I could seek the best interest for the city. So this is where I'm asking for our Finance Committee members' help and their expertise and experience or knowledge in this banking. Both of the proposals would definitely generate more money than we currently receive in interest. So for example, currently with US Bank, after all their bank fees, and based on the percentage that they pay us on the collective balances, we probably net about $80 or $90 a month in checking interest based on the balance we have. So you'll see in the proposal from New Mexico Bank and Trust, I believe it's page
Page 4.
Page 4. You'll see in green in that box, then the net monthly benefit. So they took our January statement. And after bank fees, we would receive in interest $52,000 a month versus right now $80 to $90 after all the bank fees. It's a really, really big difference. And with New Mexico Bank and Trust, they would recommend 100% of your funds being into 100% FDI insured. So they would pay a federal fund rate minus 0.7% of the current rate, and which would be the federal rate would 3. So it's at 4 point something, and then 3.55 with the 0.7%. The city would pay hard dollars analysis charge, and then you'll see the net benefit at the bottom. So that means that we would need to budget for bank fees. About what, 40,000 maybe? Then they also have a P card also. A P card program that we currently utilize, a P card program through US Bank. So that's what that commercial card is. And then the next page talks about some merchant processing proposals. So currently we use Elevon, and you'll see Elevon on there. They utilize Heartland, so you can see some of the differences also.
Processing, that's credit cards.
Correct, credit cards.
I've got a really quick question. On page 4, this shows a net monthly benefit of $52,000 in interest. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes,
So we have $18 million in cash sitting in a bank.
that is the cash that we have for all of our funds. So yes, that is our operating money.
Okay, but we don't have that invested anywhere. That's just sitting in a bank account.
Yes, that's in a checking because we're utilizing, that's our operating for general funds, solid waste, wastewater, all of the funds. That's what that's for. So it needs to be readily available.
But we spend $18 million in a month?
No, not in a month. We don't.
Well, I understand, but you would think you would want to put some of that in a more like in a CD or some type of a bond, wouldn't you, to just be a little bit
Well, there's
safer?
There's state statutes and limitations, and a lot of it that we receive is grant funds. So there are stipulations where we can't necessarily invest that into a CD or such, but it could possibly be where we could put it maybe like in a 3-month, 6-month money market or something like that to generate some interest. But we definitely have to check into that.
Okay.
We also have investments with Liliana, what's the company that we're using?
Company that one. Oh yeah, yeah.
Fidelity.
Fidelity.
Okay, so that Fidelity, this 18 million is including those Fidelity numbers, correct?
No,
No, this is just cash in bank.
correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I guess my question is, if we do go with New Mexico Bank and Trust, what is their commitment to leaving a branch here?
You know, Ms. Veronica, you may have more information on that. Maybe a little bit more
Yes.
insight.
So, I do have to state for the record that I am employed with New Mexico Bank and Trust. So I will have, my role now is managing all of public funds, but I will have to step away from this to from managing this portfolio because of the conflict of interest. So you will have a deal team that is on page 6. And with this, are you talking about the merger, Chris?
Well, I'm not talking about anything in particular. I'm just, looking at the fact that we are seeing banks reduce their physical presence in small towns. And I don't know a lot about what's going on with New Mexico Bank and Trust. I know they are in the merger, but
Yes. So we are right now in the middle of the merger. Our legal day 1 was on February 1st of this year. Our conversion date will be the weekend of Columbus Day. So that will be when we have conversion day 1. Right now, UMB is committed to keeping all of branches and actually increasing our staff. So they see the value of being in the communities and they're giving back to our communities. So if you see that, like that interest rate, so we go through and we see where we can invest into our communities. So we play a little, we know that you need your capital liquid. So we're able to pay you a little bit higher on the interest rate. And that's how we're giving back to our communities through that interest rate. We are, UMB, when they first came in, they've already committed dollars to New Mexico. They don't have a presence in New Mexico right now. So they're really excited about being in New Mexico and keeping all of the branches here and actually looking to add branches within the state.
Liliana, did we look at diversifying and going with multiple different local banks, or are you just wanting to stick with one?
So just one for now for our operating, because we have just one checking account to do all of our operating for all of our funds. So currently just one to, so that we can still continue to do business. Eventually, Preston, I would like to really look at our portfolio for our investments. From what I understand, it's been unmanaged or unadvised for well over a year. But this is to get us this essential banking business that we need, that we will need very, very soon. As you can see, I did look into also the other bank, JP Stone. JP Stone's proposal is 1% below the federal fund rate. And I gave JP Stone the exact same information that I provided New Mexico Bank and Trust so that they could give us a proposal. It's not in the proposal, but in email threads with my communication with Linda Davis, they calculated about a $57,000 return on that exact same date, and they waived all bank fees. Now, JP Stone doesn't have a P-card program. I could still utilize US Bank or seek another services for the P-card program. But definitely another bank that's worth considering, and that's why I bring it before you, because they're both excellent banks and such a big difference that we could potentially make significantly more in interest.
Okay, you said one other thing there that raised some red flags. Did you say all of this operating cash is in one bank account? So we have $18 million sitting in one account?
That's correct.
And we don't see that is at all a huge risk?
So how is it a huge risk, Mr. Elkins?
Well, are we not sitting above the FDIC insured amount?
Yes,
Sitting
so there's pledged collateral securities currently with US Bank. So and that brings a good point. New Mexico Bank and Trust, we would be fully FDIC insured, so that anything over the 250,000 goes into all these banks, and that's what they're calling the sweep account.
So it's called an ICS, so it's an insured cash sweep account, to where we can keep the funds 100% secured.
So you're sweeping it to some type of money market? Is that what you're saying, Veronica?
Yes.
Okay.
And then JP Stone's at 50%, which meets the state statutes. And I also checked with the auditors to make sure that those were acceptable forms.
Okay.
Ms. Rivera, what is your preference out of the two proposals?
So this is why I'm bringing it before you, because I am for either or, okay?
You're the one that's gonna have to deal with this.
Oh, I know. So New Mexico Bank and Trust has been super helpful in putting this proposal, but also has Ms. Davis at JP Stone. The customer service from both ends has been great. What New Mexico Bank and Trust for me, I would have to budget these bank fees because we would pay hard fees on it. But then they also have the P card program so that we could, it's an overhaul in a sense for us to start with that fresh. JP Stone doesn't have a P card program, but also Raving Bank, all the bank fees.
But if we love JP Stone, even though they don't have a P card program, we could still leave the existing P card program with US Bank.
Correct.
Without having any issues.
Correct.
So I just wanted to state this also. I was part of the U.S. Bank when I was there as well, a couple of years ago. I do know that their, and Liliana can tell you, their customer service has gone down just a little bit at U.S. Bank because they don't have local leadership, local presence. So we have the local leadership, local presence, plus we also have the business elite services team to where if our staff needs help walking through any of the processes for online banking, any of that, they're going to have them at their disposal free of charge. I know that the difference is the one thing that we need that both banks will provide will be the positive pay. That's a fraud protection. So we upload a file. Preston, you probably know that positive pay. We upload a file. We say these checks are good, and we're able to protect our customers. Because if there's a check that's in there that shouldn't be paid, we will call them. And I'm sure it works the same for JP Stone because that positive pay is going to be crucial for fraud protection. So as long as we have that, that's what I'm comfortable with. And I believe in that proposal, they do have positive pay, correct?
They do.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do. And I've worked with in the past JP Stone through other government services and New Mexico Bank and Trust prior personal banking services that I've never had any issues with. So honestly, to me I feel whomever our finance committee recommends that I could bring before the council.
Preston, I'd like to hear your opinion.
Well, Mr. Wood, that's unfair. I don't know that I have an opinion. We at the electric co-op, we use New Mexico Bank and Trust for our HSA accounts. And we also have cash in every other bank in the city. We use Western Commerce, First Financial, JP Stone, US Bank. We do try and diversify ours, but we have had no issues with New Mexico Bank and Trust. So I would not have any opposition to Liliana using them. It's odd to me that we have $18 million sitting in one cash account. I would have thought we had a different account for each different fund. But I guess that's just not the way that we operate at the city of Portales. So, Chris, I'd be fine with whichever way that Liliana would prefer.
My piece on it is if we're gonna make a change, and we just want to do one fail swoop change, New Mexico Bank Trust with a commercial card program that's in-house with them is better. Because you just have one bank, one point of contact, you don't have to go, it's different.
Well, and I also like the fact that it's fully FDIC insured.
Correct, and JP Stone is.
Right. I mean, I guess my opinion also is that either one of these proposals would be fine for the city. I mean, I like the fact that JP Stone is homegrown and based here, and we want to support, local business and things like that. But, New Mexico Bank and Trust also has a large local presence, and, this is going to be a big change for you guys and a lot of work to make this transition. And I guess the only thing that holds me back from New Mexico Bank and Trust is this merger and what's going to happen after the merger. I mean, I heard your words, Veronica, about they do want to make a commitment to the local area. I hope that is true. And not that I think that you're not telling the truth. I just, based on what you've been told, I guess is what I'm saying.
And I can totally respect that. Portales is a smaller community compared to Clovis, and if you look at it, where are you gonna fit in? I do know that through changes with all banks, we had been on, and this is just prior information that I had from US Bank. We had been on a closure list for quite some time in Portales. And you hear the rumors around town because of, the profession that you're in. I know that I'm sure JP Stone will be here for a very, very long time too, but there's other banks that are talked about that, are they closing the doors? Are they going to keep it open? I do know that, that could raise a concern, but the way I feel personally about the way the merger has happened with the communication and the way they're treating employees and adding staff and keeping, doing like retention bonuses and everything, I don't think they would pay those out if they weren't willing to stay. I'm actually very excited about this change.
Well, then I will I will move that we choose New Mexico Bank and Trust as our new banking partner and make that recommendation to the council.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Wood and a second by Mr. Elkins. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Aye. So I will abstain. Okay, item B is other business, any matter not known about or which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the time of the posting of the agenda. Do we have any other business?
Nope.
None for me.
Okay, with that, we are adjourned, and I appreciate your time this morning. Sorry that I couldn't be in person. I had another meeting at 9 that I told him I was going to be a little bit late to, so sorry that I wasn't in person. I'll be there next time.
Thank you.